Hey everyone, hope everyone's doing good, surviving these crazy energies. It's been a roller coaster. I know a lot of people are going through some pretty difficult times right now, personally in their life, and my heart goes out. I know went through a little over a week ago. My brother, who had passed away 2 years ago, his cat had died almost 2 weeks ago. So it's been very difficult because I got close to her, and that was very tough. So it's been definitely a crazy few weeks. Lots going on, a lot of big shifts of energy. One Lionsgate portal opened a huge gateway, which actually does is it brings in new energies. When I'm getting more our cosmic star family will be closer. So I want to touch in this video, I want to talk about a few things. I'm going to incorporate the Law of One material, some of it. I won't be able to put it all in this video, but I do want to incorporate from book one some big bullet points because it really does reference right now what's happening. First, I want to touch on a couple of different things before I go into that. One, I know we're seeing a lot of protesting and riots, and a lot of it isn't being, most of it's not being televised or talked about because all that's been talked about is the COVID thing. But so a lot of it is there's been a lot of riots happening. And what I'm getting is it's misdirected energy because people really aren't aware of who's playing the strings behind the scenes. So people tend to focus on government as the main problem when most of the issues have been those with money and this planet. I'm saying most of the problems. Many of the elite have caused issues and problems controlling these events happening on the planet. So just wanted to bring that up because I know that's been talked about a lot. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is, there's a lot of people that channel. There's a lot of people that channel information. I get my information from typically the Arcturians, Palladians, part of the Galactic Federation, the Ashtar Command. I get part of a council, a group that I'm on, and that my higher self is. And so I've been I get, for many years, I've gotten information from them. So I share what I get from them. Many people channel. There's a lot of misguided information and misinformation out there. I'm not saying, you have to take what makes sense to you, and if mine doesn't make sense to you, then that's okay. Somebody else might make more sense, or you might find my information makes sense to you and others don't. We all are very different, but we're all in this, and I'm going to kind of tie it all together, how we're all in this together. So the point I want to make with the misguided information is what I've noticed, and I've come across it, is reptilian Orion group who are being channeled through many people, pretending they are of the light, pretending they are of the Galactic Federation or other groups, and misguiding information. Part of it is what I have gotten is that we were supposed to have this many years ago, this ascension, shortly after 2012. It was supposed to go through this process we're going through right now. And so things have been extended. And because of that, what happens is it's information. It's beliefs, it's people's perception and saying, oh, it's going to continue longer, it's longer and longer. No, it's all on how we see it happening. It isn't anybody telling you, oh, you're going to have to wait another 5 years to this Ascension, or another 10 years, another 20 years, whatever it is. We decide that. We are the ones who decide that when it's ready. And so much of that, people are getting information because it's to extend this process. It's to keep people trapped into this realm of this physical realm and go through these challenges because it's a control thing. And this is huge with the Law of One. There's a lot of information in there about the Orion group, about the reptilians. There are the Orion group. And so I want to touch base on that. There are also many civilizations existing inside the inner Earth here. There are many groups that have been here since the beginning of this master cycle, and I'll talk about the cycles here. But many of them are afraid once this solar flash happens, and some people are saying it's not going to happen. I don't believe that. I've been told otherwise. It's part of the end of a master cycle. This has happened before in other cycles on Earth. There's no reason why it would be different. The beings I've channeled and also I've heard from in the Law of One is very talks about how the cycle will close itself. So if you don't believe that, that's okay. I mean, like I said, it's all based on your perception and what you believe and or what makes sense to you. So there are inner Earth civilizations too that also people have channeled, and they are not malevolent; they're benevolent. But some of them are fearful of being going extinct, because the fear is what I've picked up is when this flash happens, it can wipe out their existence. They won't have a place to go. So I want to go and talk about that, about the Earth cycles. So the Earth has 25,000 year cycles, okay? Every 3 cycles, so that's a total of 75,000 years, a master cycle finishes. The Earth basically goes through a cleansing process. All beings, everyone, exits the planet. The planet becomes uninhabitable. The planet goes into a period of rest where the planet just becomes in a hibernation mode. The soul of the planet at that time shifts to another density and shifts up to another vibration, as well as everyone else goes to where they're supposed to go. So we're at the end of that master cycle right now, 75,000 years. At the first cycle when it started, and there was in between these cycles, these 75,000 year cycles, there's usually 1 million or 2 million years that can go by where the planet is uninhabitable. It just does not. There's no inhabitants. Because the air, everything is not breathable. So I want to tie in and then I'll go into some of the information on the cycles when they started on this planet. I had, in one of the books that I read called Legacy of the Stars by Dolores Cannon, there was at the very last session in that book, one of the clients had gone into a future life. She had gone into her life as an ET in the future, and she was living inside a planet. And the questions were being asked. Dolores asked the questions, and she was responding, well, we're living inside the planet because you cannot breathe on the planet's surface. And so she was asking why, and she said, well, because the planet had become uninhabitable because it was the end of a cycle and of a process. And she's like, well, can you tell me which planet? Where are you? She said, Earth. She said, this will happen now, in our time period right now. And she said what happened is the Earth started to wobble, become unbalanced more. And many people are noticing the sun setting in different locations. Like one day it may be here, and the next day it's over here, and it jumps. I've noticed it. I've talked to several other people around the world have also noticed the same thing. It's more noticeable in the northern hemisphere than it is in the southern hemisphere. So what had happened, and other people have talked about this, noticed different things happening. People have noticed the clouds seem like they become lower. I've noticed it, where there's times that regular clouds seem like they're lower than normal. What happened is at the end of this cycle, this being said from the future, is the atmosphere of the planet collapsed in on the surface. So the surface basically smelled of sulfur, which is like one of the chemicals or whatever of the atmospheric chemicals. Okay. And no one is able to breathe. There wasn't the oxygen level to survive on the planet. Everyone, she said, had to. This session was done in 2000. I would say, or in the 1990s. I can't remember exactly. So she said that what will happen is shortly after 2012, which we're way beyond that already, but there will be a quick event that happened where it became uninhabitable very quickly. And she said that basically there were animals, species of animals have been dying off because they're ascending, they're shifting to different density. And she said that everyone had to be vacated off the planet. This goes into, so I believe that, I do. I've had actually, I will share this. Several years ago I had a vision, not expecting it, where I was in a ship and I was above in space looking down on Earth. And I thought, what's going on? And then I saw the Earth, it was like everything started to turn brown. Everything was dying. And this is what this ET being had said, that everything, and this was before I read this book, okay, this vision I had. And this ET being, or I'm sorry, in my vision, I saw everything browning because it just was dying very quickly. Then, about 3 weeks ago or so, I had asked, well, can you show me when, but I'm curious, just like everybody else, when will I leave the planet, this physical planet, for good? Okay. And I asked, when can you show me that? So what happened, I saw myself in a ship. Again, it was a very, very clear, very vivid vision. I was above a large city. I don't know which city it was, but it was a very, it looked almost, I wanted to say it was maybe Tokyo. I don't know. And I was looking way up at the clouds, looking down in the city. And I said, what am I seeing? What's going on? And they said, we're picking up our group, our council members, our group that are incarnated right now in human form. Because the planet is becoming uninhabitable. It will be uninhabitable in a very short time. They said it will happen very quickly, happen all at once. I don't know when this will be. I don't put dates out there. Again, this is not what that's not how I look at things, because it's, like I said, you give a date and then it goes by it. Nothing happens. People go, well, you said it was going to happen. So I don't put that out there, but I don't know when it will be. But I was not much older than I'm looking now. So I don't know, take it how as you like. So let's go back into the cycles. So in the beginning of this planet, and I wrote a lot of notes from the Law of One. In the beginning of the first cycle, 25,000 year cycle, okay, there were approximately, the average lifespan at that time was 900 years. People lived to 900 years. The reason they said that in the Law of One, this is information I'm talking from the Law of One. I'm summarizing some major points. In the Law of One, they talk about, they said that in the first 25,000 year cycle, it was an average lifespan was 900 years because everything was new, everything was fresh, the energy around the planet was good. 900 years gave, they said, the occupants, inhabitants to learn the life lessons they needed to learn what they needed to do, and they could move up in the density faster rather than doing several lifetimes and then not being able to shift up right away. So people lived to average 900 years, so they said that the inhabitants could learn their life lessons, because they said the first 150 to 200 years of their life at that time was for, they call it a spiritual child. They were learning the density, they were learning the planet, they were learning the polarities, and then from 200 to 900 approximately, the being could reach spiritual maturity, okay, and then they would be able to ascend to the next density. Once the second cycle happened, so at the end of the first cycle, they said there were no beings, no one was able to ascend to that next level, no one. They said there was the beings of Ra. These are Ra. The beings that are channeling on the Law of One are actually, they lived on Venus. They were Venusian. Okay, they are sixth density, which is each density are like grades. I'll explain quick densities, and I'll go into that in the future. Densities are match the chakras. So there's 7 densities. First density is the root chakra, second sacral, third solar plexus, and so on. And so they're at 6th density, which is the indigo, or the third eye, pineal gland, and they reach that. And each density is like a grade. The more you go in densities, you're able to go into higher dimensions. There's infinite dimensions, basically, but it gives you more options, okay? So at the end of that 21st, 25,000 year cycle, there were no beings able to be ready to shift to that next density. The planet here has been in 3rd density, which is the solar plexus area, yellow ray. It is the self-awareness, self-consciousness. That's that density, 3rd density. Okay, that's where beings can learn to become self-aware, self-conscious as who they are as an individual. The planet will be those who are ready shifting into 4th density, which is heart chakra, which is showing more compassion for others, or becoming either service to self or service to others. Okay, and then love. Okay, and I'll go into the service to self, service to others if I have enough time here. So, in the beginning of the 25,000 year cycle, there were Mars became uninhabitable at that time. There were beings on Mars that were brought here that were 3rd density. They were Martians. Okay, the planet here had about 50% of were Martians. There were about 25% 2nd density beings. They were just starting the 3rd density, and then there were beings from other planetary spheres wanting to experience this planet. That was about 25%. So that made up the 100% of the population. The population was, I wrote it down, it was very small at that time. Sorry, I'm going through my notes here, but these are really interesting bullet points. There were a lot of battles between groups, which resulted in dramatically lowering the lifespan. So there were a lot of battles because there were groups that were more primitive on this planet, and there were groups that were different species of groups. There were the Martians, who looked much different than the primitive beings, like I would say cavemen type beings. Okay, so there was very different battles happening, And this dramatically lowered over the lifespan of this 25,000 years is dramatically lowered. So at the beginning of the second density, or beginning of the second cycle, 25,000 year cycle, the lifespan went down to about 700 years, I want to say, which I wrote it down here, and I'm trying to find it, and I apologize. But at the beginning of that cycle, it was about 700 years. And so the second cycle, and during these cycles, when it starts a new cycle, the planet goes through like where it comes to a point where there's like a flash, an energy. Those who are ready can shift up to that next density, and then new beings are incarnated. Now, this doesn't mean everybody passes or has to leave the planet. It just, life continues, but it's just another shift up in vibration. Okay, and those who are ready will go to the next density. So at the end of the second cycle, approximately only 150 souls were able to shift up to that next density, which is the next dimension, which is the next time and space, out of this. Okay. There was only at that time about 345,000 occupants on this planet, so much, 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 much less than there is now. So what I want to talk about, I'm trying to find so then when the beginning of this third cycle started, this is where we had, I will go into this in another video because this is a big portion. Atlanteans, the Lemurians. The Lemurians came in between the second cycle. And then the third cycle, the Atlanteans had came. Let's see. So the one thing I want to occur, and by the time this third cycle, or we get to this time frame, middle of the third cycle, the average lifespan, they said in Atlantis, was only 40 years to 140 to 140 years. Many of them, because of the technology they were using, and they were using it for battles and war and things that were more lower polarity, it was causing damage to the etheric field around the planet. It gets filled with dense energy, which affects the lifespan of this planet. That's why the lifespan of this planet is on average, 80 years, 85 years? I don't know the average, I'm just guessing. But it's less than 100 years. And that's why, because the etheric realm, astral realm, around this planet has been filled with very dense energy, which has caused the average lifespan to be very short. That affects the lifespan because of that density. I'm going to talk about one last thing: service to self and service to others. Okay. So service to self beings are beings who reach that, let's say they're a good example, their Orion group, the reptilian group, are service to self. To be service to self, they have to be at least 95% is service to themselves, 5% service to others. To be service to other oriented or benevolent, you can say, whatever, you have to be at least 51% service to others and 49% service to yourself. Okay. Now, the Orion group are 4th density up through 6th density. Each density you can be service to self, because the law of one, it doesn't matter. And a lot of people ask, why have they been allowed here? Why have these groups been allowed to this planet? Because the reptilians, the Orion group, didn't arrive here, 3,600 years ago. Many people ask, well, why have they been allowed here? Because it was a free will planet. The other thing is service to self is allowed through the law of one, through the creator, because when you're service to yourself, you're servicing the creator, because we're all part of the creator, the source, God. And so Many people have a hard time understanding that, but they're allowed because service to self is also serving the Creator. That's a hard one to swallow for a lot of people, but that is a universal Creator law. It just that's why they're allowed to do what they do. So that I really wanted to cover that. I know I'm getting already at close to 30 minutes here, but there's so much I want to cover. I will talk about the densities and the different densities, how it relates to our chakra system, what each density represents, how it's tied to our mind, body, soul complex, and how the astral realm is tied into that. How I will talk about all this stuff when I get into the next video. But I wanted to just bring these things up. I wanted to talk about the cycles because I think most people don't understand that at the end of the 75,000 year cycle, the planet is going into a hibernation. It's not going to be inhabitable. And it happens very quickly. Like I said, I don't know when it will happen. I'm guessing it's coming pretty fast, though. The planet will have to be evacuated. It's happened they said in the Law of One, it's happened in past cycles before this cycle we're in. There was 1 million or 2 million years between the cycles, the master cycles. And so it's happened before. And they said this is part of the process. This density, third density, is not going to exist anymore, this dimension, because the planet has outgrown that dimension now. So it's going to shift up into a higher vibration. And at the end, what will happen is those who are ready to shift to that next density will become a lighter, like I said, a lighter version. Those who aren't ready will have to go to incarnate on other planets and continue living third density, third dimensional lives, polarities, negative, positive, so and so. So I hope that all makes sense. I could continue talking, but I don't want to. I would go on forever. So I apologize. I appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed, that would be great. If you leave comments, like the video, recommend this video, share this video, I really greatly appreciate it. I think this is good information from the Law of One, and that I think that it will help make more sense to this whole ascension process. I'll probably touch upon it again in my next video because I want to continue on with the Law of One information because it really relates to right now. All of this stuff I'm reading in this series of Law of One is related to right now, what we're experiencing. So thank you, everybody. Love you all. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're getting through this time. Let's support each other, keep in touch. That's important right now, especially. It's because it's become so difficult. And if you have any questions, please respond, and I appreciate it. Till next time.